Welcome back, everyone. Michael Rosmer here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to dive a little bit into some introductory concepts in contracts, which can be very important to you. And in particular today we're going to discuss severability. This is one of the common boilerplate clauses that is in there that you should probably know about. And there's lots of different ways that we're going to talk about how it applies to you, so stick around until the end. Before we get started, if you have not already, click the subscribe button. It's going to help you a lot. You're going to get good luck. Apparently, you know, red is a lucky color. You click on it, you get red, you get good luck. Click the notification bell. Let's get started. Okay, so if you've ever done contracts, which if you're in business at all, you probably have, you're going to notice there's a whole bunch of different clauses, right? There is two types of clauses, loosely speaking. I mean, you can make a bunch of different types, but let's loosely call two, which is kind of the types of clauses that are specific to that document. Maybe you would break those up into definitions and the actual like active clauses. And then there is also the boilerplate clauses. What does boilerplate mean? Boilerplate are just common clauses that are in pretty much every contract, and often, even if they're not there, they're assumed to be there. Okay, this is like the standard way to go. And today we're going to talk about one called severability. And severability is important to us not just from the standpoint of contracts, but also in terms of trusts and some other planning that you can take advantage of. So, what is the severability principle? The severability principle and a severability clause basically says if one of the clauses in a contract is deemed to be invalid, it doesn't invalidate the whole contract. Okay, so how would this maybe work? Well, let's say that you have an agreement. Let's say that the agreement includes an exclusivity, some sort of like a non-compete clause. And this would be fairly common in various different types of employment agreements, okay? Now, depending on where you are, the government may not allow you to enforce that exclusivity or non-compete clause, okay? So let's say that you're like, okay, great, you know, I'm going to go and have this agreement with someone, and we somehow end up, maybe in this case, I leave, I stop working there, but I had this exclusivity clause. I go and I work for somebody else doing something similar, this non-compete, and now they come and sue me, okay? So if I was to say in the state of California, California tends not to enforce non-compete clauses in employment agreements. Now, lots of technicalities around this. We're not going to dive into that right now, but let's just go and look at this premise, okay? So you go and you say, now maybe, let's kind of step back a little bit more and let's suggest that as part of the agreement, you also had some kind of compensation associated with it, okay? So, and what they argue is they say, hey, listen, you violated your non-compete agreement, and therefore we're not honoring the compensation portion of it, okay? So, severability, let's say that you go to court, they might say, hey, listen, this one portion is invalid, but that doesn't invalidate the whole contract, okay? So, your obligations in other respects may be upheld. Their obligations may be upheld. The fact that you had this non-compete, which was invalid, does not invalidate everything else. Okay, that's the basic premise of a severability clause. Now, why is this possibly important to you? Well, first of all, it's important to you because it protects you from screwing up writing one part of a contract and then having another part, you know, be invalidated as a result. So you can kind of see the logic behind it, right? They say, hey, listen, each part is considered separate. If we cut off that part, it doesn't kill off the whole. Fair enough. The second thing, though, that I think is quite useful, and I've rarely seen people apply it, but some of the top international attorneys who I learned from would apply this, and I thought it was quite unique and creative, is that under the severability principle, this allows you to potentially appeal to different rule of law and different systems, etc., depending on the section of the agreement. So let's see how this can apply using trusts, okay? So in trust, you could say, hey, listen, for the purposes of this portion of the agreement, we are going to deal with this set of rules. For the purposes of this portion of the agreement, we're going to deal with this other set of rules, and so on and so forth, okay? This is very interesting, right? Very, very interesting to be able to pay attention to this. Why is that very interesting? Well, because it potentially allows you within the nature of a contract, you know, in a bunch of cases it may not be useful, but when you're dealing with international business, it could be very useful. You could be in a situation where you say, okay, great, I can pick and choose, or me and the other parties, we can pick and choose what is most useful for us, okay? So when you're designing contracts, keep this in mind. When you're setting up a trust, keep this in mind. I often have people who come to me and they'll say, hey, listen, you know, where's the preferred trust jurisdiction, right? Nevis, Cook Islands, Turks and Caicos, Belize, Cyprus, whatever, right? Whatever places it is that people are talking about. And the thing that I will often push back with them on is I'll say, hey, listen, actually, we often use multi-jurisdictional trusts, meaning that we don't have one specific jurisdiction. There are different parts to the jurisdictional composition of a trust. And under the severability principle, you have the ability to take advantage of what it is that you like in a bunch of them. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. If you're in a situation, you know, you're doing contracts, etc., if you're interested in setting up trusts, if you're interested in reducing your taxes, reach out to us. You can click the link below. You can book a call with me, cardi.fm/Michael Rosmer, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com. Click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Check out our other videos. Like this video if you liked it. Comment below. Tell us what it is that you think. Mention some cool, unique, interesting situations that you've seen. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video.